Perfect. Are we good? Are we good?
Yeah.
Did you get it this time? Okay,
we're
just making
we're
sure.
Like actually live on screen.
Okay, because this is the second attempt of trying this. So
yeah, there's a reason.
But like I said, I want to have it any other way. Oh yeah, perfect. Hello and welcome back to the Git Good podcast. I am your new host, so I have officially taken the role of host. My name is Zertex, also known as Nick. I've been on previous episodes and stuff in the past, and the boys, Jacob, Ryan, and Taylor have invited me to become an actual host, so I am excited. I will be in more episodes, so hopefully my voice does not annoy you. Yeah, lick my honky nuts, bitch. Welcome to the Git Good podcast. Today we are going to be talking about the worst or maybe the best anime ever created. That's for you guys to decide. So in this first half of this podcast, we are going to keep it spoiler free. We don't want to ruin anything for you guys if you haven't seen it yet. And then in the second half, we will have spoilers. We will go into details of what happened on this show. Oh, there was a nip slip from Ryan. Sorry for all you audio listeners. You don't get to see that. Subscribe to the OnlyFans if you want more. So yeah, we will give you a warning before we get into those spoilers. Today we are going to be discussing the new anime that came out by Trigger Studios and CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I am super excited to dive into this. I personally loved this anime a lot.
Yeah, I'm a big anime fan. I know, like, outside of this, you guys aren't like huge weebs, and I definitely am, but Trigger is such an up and down studio for me. I know, Nick, you've seen some of them. I know, Jacob, you haven't. But Trigger is like either crushes it or they do a good job and then just massively nosedive and tank it for me. And I think this show was, I mean, I don't want to give away all the details, but it got nothing but better with each episode. I was actually kind of nervous because the first episode was like, oh, this is this is cool. Like, this is all right.
Yeah,
But then, like,
I
by
didn't.
episode 3, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah, so just to let everyone know, we binged this entire series in one night. We stayed up until about 2 in the morning and just watched every single episode back to back to back. And like Ryan said, so with Trigger, I've seen a couple of episodes of their other series. I want to start Pro Mare, one of their other animes they have. But yeah, the first episode in, I wasn't kind of hooked with it. Like I've watched Arcane all the way through, and instantly, first episode of Arcane. The only reason I'm mentioning Arcane as an anime because it is based off a video game, kind of how Edgerunners is. I was instantly hooked with Edgerunners. I thought it was, Arcane. I thought it was amazing, but yeah, the more it dove into the series and the character development, the soundtrack, and just everything, the fight scenes, the love story, it was amazing.
See, it reminded me a lot of JoJo, in the fact that I've never seen JoJo before. So I went into this completely new to anime. Hands down, it's clearly in my top 2, holding both first place and second, actually, at the same time. What I'm getting at here is I'm not an anime person. I've seen like 3 episodes of One Punch Man myself in the past. And I did grow up with, Avatar, Yu-Gi-Oh, Naruto, stuff like that. But to me, I never really consider those animes. They're more of, children's cartoons. They played on fucking Nickelodeon. So me, it didn't count. Yeah, fucking Avatar was on Nickelodeon. The rest of
Naruto.
Never mind.
Yeah, Naruto is
Piece,
definitely not.
Yeah.
One Punch, all that stuff is definitely like Toonami, which is on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
True, Adult Swim now.
Yeah, Adult Swim.
Yeah. But to me, the things I grew up watching that are kind of considered animes, I don't consider them that because they were just like my childhood cartoons. So the only real anime I've ever seen any of was One Punch Man, and it was only like 3 episodes. Fucking hilarious. It's great. But I went into this fresh, and to me, fantastic. And I went into it with the mindset of I was really hyped for Cyberpunk 2077, the game, and I didn't get it when it first came out because I was broke just as much as I am now. And then I saw the reviews and footage and all the problems with it, so I actually never got it. And I saw this as an opportunity to be like, hey, the story looked great. Hopefully this can provide that without all of the issues that the game had. And to me, it did. And now I might, try to go buy Cyberpunk 2077 now that they've worked on it for a couple of years.
Yeah. As soon as I found out it was made by Trigger, I knew it was going to be spot on. I knew it was going to be very, very solid. I knew it was going to be animated very well and, good from start to finish. What do we kind of want to dive into first? Do we want to dive into the soundtrack? Do we want to dive into character development? Or
So, and this is the type of thing that I love talking about because being a film critic was my dream job. And I get to do a podcast. It's kind of like it. But I thought kind of the big thing that stood out for me, it's a Studio Trigger show, right? You see Darwin and the Franks, Promate, I can never pronounce it right. Gurren Lagann, right? What do they all have in common? The fight scenes, the action, even their Star Wars episode with the Star Wars anime that they got to do. The action is always premier, spot on, high quality stuff. I find the story either gets too convoluted and gets overdone, or maybe some of the voice acting is a little at times. And I think the first thing I want to point out was the voice acting. Now, for reference, we watched the English dub version, mainly because there was one voice actor that was going to be in it that I wanted to see, which was a huge standout. Giancarlo Esposito. Giancarlo Esposito.
Sound it out. You got it. You can do it.
You guys would know him as the owner of the chicken shop in Breaking Bad. He is the owner of, what's the evil corporation in?
The Seven?
Yep. He runs the Seven. He is also the main villain in the latest Far Cry game. So
yeah, that's what I knew him from.
Yeah.
You pulled up a picture and I was like, oh, the Far Cry guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he is everywhere. And so I did not expect him to be in this. And then when I saw
he's Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian.
He's
true. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
also
Moff Gideon
in The Mandalorian. Yeah. So the guy's all over. He's a big name, and I didn't expect him to be tied to like an anime. And you look at the rest of the cast, there's no names that particularly stand out to me as like, oh, I know them. But I will say William Stevens, who played Maine, he is awesome. He puts such an inflection on his voice that he takes this kind of, to a sense, stereotype character and puts him in the forefront. I mean, he outshined what I felt was like other main characters in the show. And then another one, and she was definitely more of a side character compared to some of them, was Alex Cazares. I might be butchering it, as Rebecca. She was my favorite character of the entire show, and
Dude.
her voice actor just crushed it. I mean, on top of the animation, right? Her face, her overreactions, and everything that kind of tied in with it. That actress just destroyed that role, and I cannot say anything but just high praises for the entire voice cast. I love it.
Yeah, dude, like, oh God, it's so hard to talk about it without spoilers because I just want to dive into this. I guess I'll kind of, unless anyone has anything else to like add about general synopsis of the story and stuff, or characters, the soundtrack, like they did very, very well with it. Like between, you have that, for me personally, I've always loved the cyberpunk aesthetic, like even prior to cyberpunk coming out. Just that aesthetic, like the neon, the like cyborg upgrade, stuff like that. I've always loved that. The soundtrack that they used between like the visuals on the animation, like it was perfect for the scenes that they went in, and there was just a large variety of music. You had like that cyberpunk kind of like techno theme, you had like heavy metal, you had some very good like alternative songs. Like there's a song called I Really Want to Stay at Your House by Let's Eat Grandma, which is the name of the group. And dude, when I listen to that song now, it makes me want to cry just because of how good it is. And it's just like the scenes that they put it in. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So the soundtrack was, for me, if I had to rate it, it'd probably be a 9 out of 10. Like it was very well done when it came to the music choice.
Yeah, that was hands down one of the best soundtracks I've seen in almost anything I've ever watched, honestly. And I like the fact that they actually managed to take, I don't know what the actual genre is, but whatever genre you would put Modest Mouse in, like that like Euro rock sound, they managed to make me actually enjoy a couple of those songs. And generally, I fucking hate all of them. They don't tend to fit into a lot of places, but they used one for the intro, and it worked beautifully with the cinematics they had in there.
So I was doing a little bit of research. Let me double check while someone else is talking, because I don't want to accidentally say that this person is from the wrong place. But they did have the outro song, I want to say, was made by someone in a foreign country. Let me look it up. Give me one moment.
Well, something that I think too, and this is a really small thing, but Cyberpunk has a trademark on a certain shade of yellow, right? And they do, and this is kind of a small thing that I noticed, but they do such a good job incorporating that, because that was like the branding on everything, right? The main character you've seen from the trailer, his jacket is that, yellow kind of aspect. And I noticed while we were watching it, the intro is that yellow, and his jacket is that shade of yellow. Nothing else in the show is that yellow. And I thought that was such a cool aspect of it, where they take like this kind of thing that they kind of held, that really made them stand out aesthetically compared to everything else. And they kind of incorporated that into the show in a way that really isolates him as the main character and kind of pushes him to the forefront against everything else. It's small things like that I think well-established anime and animation studios like Trigger will and are able to do, that I think sometimes goes unnoticed, but is such a definitive thing to kind of help assist, stuff like that.
Just an update. The outro song was actually made by a Polish singer-songwriter.
Wait, is it Jack Black in that movie on Netflix?
Yes, yeah, that he's actually the one that
beautiful.
made it. Yeah, yep. I do not know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not going to try to butcher it. So
I looked it up, and I just it's
Dawid Podsialdo, Podsialdo. I don't know, but yeah, that song slaps.
Nice. Well, hey Ryan, so when you say they have that shade of yellow trademark, do you mean like an actual trademark?
No, I meant it in like a figurative sense, right? When you see that shade of yellow, because I made an overlay with that shade of yellow that was not Cyberpunk related, and the first thing everyone told me was, "Oh, you're doing a Cyberpunk thing," and I'm like, "No, I just really liked that yellow," and I think it's to a point today. And even though the game was disappointing, right? We can all kind of agree that the game was disappointing. I will say, I haven't played it. I'm going to get back in and play it again because it was so broken on launch. You couldn't really do anything without being taken out of it. There's a really emotional moment early in the game, and my character had a gun like clipped onto the back of his hand, and so he's talking to me and having an emotional moment, but he keeps pointing a gun in my face, which really kind of killed the fucking moment for me. But I hear they fixed so much of that post-launch, so I want to go back and play it again.
I will say Bazzy played it after we watched this, and it did look a little bit better. He was having some issues actually physically running it because it is so kind of taxing because the graphics are in it and are so insane. But I didn't see as many like bugs and stuff. They did update the game quite a bit. So they have Rebecca's shotgun in it. What is it? It's like a pinkish greenish combo. They have like his jacket in there, and like they have some new missions and stuff. So they did kind of update the game, and I think it was like a 40 gig update that they did on consoles and a 14 gig update on PC. So they did add like some new heists, a couple of new weapons, new cosmetics, and just some quality of life changes after that. So that is good to see.
Hey, speaking of the game though, and being broken when it launched, did you guys catch the little jab they had at the launch when they not going to spoil anything, but when they were facing a shitload of cops?
What do you mean?
No.
So at one point, well, for background, so basically when the game launched, people found an issue with the police system with AI where they would literally spawn out of thin air in hordes, like right in front. Someone would be in an elevator and they would just spawn all around them inside the elevator. And at one point when they were facing a bunch of cops in the show, he goes, fuck, what was it? Something like, these cops, they just keep spawning out of thin air. And I thought it was a great little jab at themselves from the game launch.
I'm pretty sure it was Maine, or it was either Maine or Dorio, and they said like these bastards like don't stop coming or whatever, something like that. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, they did a really good job, I think, kind of making references back and forth too. And even if you haven't played the game, and that was something I worried about, right? Because I played a little bit of it, but I didn't finish it. And how much was I going to miss if I didn't play the game, right? Was there a lot of stuff? And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of references and a lot of tie-ins. And playing what I did from the game, I kind of learned where this takes place in like the timeline and stuff just from the references. But do not worry, you don't have to play the game to actually get this story or get the world, which is really hard to do because it's such a complicated world, right? And they do so good like fleshing it out.
Yeah, I think the story kind of is completely separate from the actual like storyline of the game. But me personally, I've actually never played Cyberpunk. I was kind of the same way. I was waiting for it to launch, and then I heard there was a bunch of bugs and stuff like that, and it seemed rushed. So I actually never ended up buying it. But it was kind of the same thing with Arcane. Arcane is based off of League of Legends, and I've played League of Legends maybe like 3 times in my entire life. But I loved Arcane. I didn't really know any of the characters in Arcane, but now I do. Like I know characters in League of Legends just because of Arcane, and now I kind of know a little bit more about Cyberpunk because of Edgerunners. So like Ryan said, you don't have to play this game. You don't have to, know about the story or anything, because it is something kind of completely separate from that, and it's amazing.
Disclosure, if you play this game, I think, or watch this show, I think it'll make you want to play Cyberpunk. If you watch Arcane, don't play League of Legends. That game is toxic as fuck and does not deserve more of a fan base.
I agree.
Fuck
I
that
agree.
game, dude. It's so
100%.
I don't get how a game so simple is just full of so many toxic people.
That
It's
game
so
is
bad.
not simple at all. You're out of your mind. That game
simple,
is not
like,
simple.
It looks simple. It doesn't look very cinematic, etc. It looks like something I could run off of a Flash player.
I ran it on my laptop in a hotel off of hotel Wi-Fi. So, but
Yeah, no. And people are fucking mean in that game.
yes, they
They're
are.
just
You got to
so
know what you're
mean to
doing.
me.
I feel like it was kind of like a meme that's like gone way too far now. Like everyone knows League of Legends is like extremely toxic.
I'll just kind of direct it back onto the show. Something else. So we talked about the voice actors, right? The voice acting was exceptional across the board with some highlights. The music, the sound design was great, and just kind of focus the conversation a bit because man, we can go in tangents. The show was good enough; it's really easy for us to get diverted. But to kind of bring it back to like other things that were really noticeable for me, the progression of the story, right? And as someone is a huge weeb, someone who watches anime constantly, one of the biggest problems I see in the industry is like the characters never grow, or they're just like in the same spot, or they nickel and dime you. And episode to episode, these characters are fucking different people. Like this covers like a good chunk of time. Like people develop, people grow. I've got some stuff I want to talk about in the spoilers, but know that like actions have consequences in this show, and they do such a good job of reflecting that. Nothing that any of them do is insignificant. Everything leads to something, and it builds off of it. It's kind of like watching a movie rather than a TV show, right? Because they feel like they've got, in a movie, they've only got so much time, so everything has to be part of the development, where shows can kind of nickel and dime it. They do not treat this like a show. They treat it like a 10-hour movie, and I love it. It is so hard to do, and they crush it.
Yeah, that was a very good like point. Like you really get to see them develop and like change as people episode to episode. Like you said, every action has a consequence. Like everything they do kind of weighs on them, either in like a positive or negative light, and they kind of connect and build relationships with each other that, you know, push other relationships with their other crew members and stuff, you know, in a certain way and stuff like that. So that is something that Trigger did very, very well, and CD Projekt Red about that. They definitely had a very good character development episode to episode. And it really did feel like a movie. And I don't know if that's because we just binge watched all 10 episodes in one setting, but
40 minutes.
It definitely felt like a well thought out movie.
Well, and I think on top of the character development and progression, you actually see like a final outcome from it as well. How all of these affect the ending of these characters, because it gives you actual resolution. They give you an ending to it, as opposed to there's so many projects out there as far as like movies and TV shows, stuff like that, video games, where they leave it open-ended because they want to explore it more, and they decide to just tell you the whole fucking story, which I think is great. I wish more people did this, because you actually get to see, you know, everything wrapped up appropriately instead of being dragged along, getting a bunch of bullshit filler. And I think that is one thing that actually helps with character development, because they're forced to actually sit down and, you know, create meaningful characters instead of, oh, we're gonna, you know, make this character, we were gonna kill him off 6 episodes in, but we're gonna string him along for 4 seasons and give you a bunch of filler for him that never really does anything for the character.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the development and the growth of all the characters, one of the other things that I really like, and this is a spoiler-free example, there is one character who starts out as kind of like a friend, right? And then as they develop, you kind of get like a romantic sense for them. And then you're like, oh, like they're trying to start a romance. And it's very organic, very real, and very fitting for the scenario. And then that develops from like romance to like a really strong like brother, sister, friend kind of vibe, where it's like, hey, we're not gonna be romantically inclined, but like I'm willing to die for you kind of bond. And it's so cool to see how they're able to take these characters and go from all these stages. Because, like, hey, I kind of casually know you, to, like, hey, I'm kind of romantically interested in you, to, like, I have such a strong, like, family bond with you. Those are really big jumps. And to do that in such a nice, even path where it doesn't feel like it's shoving it down my throat is
That's right,
so
Chumba.
hard to do. You know?
Yeah,
And
Chumba.
that's just one character. They do this with, like, 8 characters, right? Like, I can't think of any of them. Even one of the characters, there's a character named Dorio, who's kind of more of a background character, right? She's in
Yeah.
the story, but she's not, like, as forefront. And when things would happen, or, like, she was in a dangerous situation, I was still nervous that something bad was going to happen to her. And and for me to feel that way about such a ancillary character, right? Someone who hasn't had a huge impact compared to anybody else is I think a great sign, you know. And if I can relate it back to other Studio Trigger shows, Darling in the Franxx in particular, Darling in the Franxx has a cool build, right? And it kind of has some character development, but, like, the best friend girl hates the new girl that he's in love with, and that doesn't change. Doesn't even really change at the end. Maybe, like, a slight amount of respect, but it's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Okay, we're fine. You know, there's no growth, there's no build there. It's just hard line. And Studio Trigger's done that with multiple shows. And so maybe, you know, we have to see how they do in the future, but this is kind of like a real showing, I think, for the studio. Promare is the same way, which I think is a really cool action scenes, but the story, I never feel like the characters really, like, build or grow, and then there's, like, a dime change where they're like, okay, now we'll be friends, kind of deal. And I hope they keep this trend up, and it's something that I hope picks up.
Yeah, they did a very good job at making you, like, feel like you're part of the show, in a sense. Like, they made it
100%.
feel like you are part of their, like, crew. So, like, how you were saying, like, with Dorio kind of being a background character, like, when, you know, there's dangerous situations, you know, you're like, okay, like, if this person were to get hurt or die or whatever, that it would hurt you physically, because they made it feel like, this is, you know, my brother, this is my sister, this is my chumba, you know what I'm saying? So, like, they would make it feel like if that person were to get hurt, it would have actual consequences on you, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain it.
As, like, part of the
so chumba basically in, like, Cyberpunk means, like, your family or your friend. So they say that all the time. They say chumba, and they also say nova, which to me is just, like, badass or, like, rad. So there's some slang in there too. That's kind of cool that like, plus all the character development and everything, it really makes it feel like you're part of their crew, like, just by watching the show, like, you're there doing that stuff with them.
Something I was kind of really wanting to dive into a bit too was from Jacob. This is your first anime, like, first real, like, anime, and you've sworn, like, I will never watch anime. What did you, like, if someone's out there, they're like, I've never watched anime, but I'm a big video game fan, what would you say, or would you recommend this? Like, how would you describe it to them?
So I think I see it from a different perspective than a lot of other people will that don't watch animes, because I am a little bit of a sociopath. I tend to struggle with, like, having emotions towards most things. And so, but to me, this kind of brought out, like, it actually brought out, like, I could feel some emotions the way they told the story. And I think I'm going an opposite route from a lot of people will with animes. It definitely has made me want to watch more anime, but it's made me want to watch animes that are sad as fuck and make you want to cry.
I got the perfect one for you. We're watching July and April, baby.
All right,
sounds dude, like all animes do that, dude. Like, they're so good at, like, pulling you in and, like, tugging on your heartstrings with the story and stuff. Like, even, like, Naruto got me. Like, there's so many scenes in Naruto where I'm just like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. So yeah, I mean, I have a couple of friends that have sworn off anime. They think it's stupid or it's weird or whatever, but they are such good shows. Like to me, like someone that likes art and stuff like that, to me they are pieces of art because these are someone is animating this, someone is making this, they're drawing it, they're doing storyboards, all this stuff. And it's just incredible to see, and I wish more people would actually watch it because the stories are so good and people just don't give it a chance because they think it's weird. Speaking of, I do want to go back and rewatch it in the sub version as well and see how the voice acting carries over and if it gives it a different vibe or not.
Watch party times two.
Yeah, we'll run the watch party back. We did do a watch party in our Discord where we all just binge watched all of the episodes back to back. So we should definitely do that again and do it in the sub version instead.
So that actually brings up a big reason I don't watch anime really.
Jacob doesn't know how to read.
Exactly.
Illiterate.
No, it's twofold. So one problem I have with a lot of anime is a lot of them don't have English dubs that I can find, and so I'm forced to sit there and watch subtitles. And I tend to keep subtitles on when I watch things because I like to have it as a reference in case it wasn't mixed properly. There's a background sound that's too loud and I can't tell what was said, stuff like that. But when I'm watching something that's completely in a language that I don't know and I have to read the subtitles, I'm not able to fully focus on the scene itself. I'm sitting there watching the subtitles instead of watching the actual scene unfold. And then with that, there are a lot of them with English dubs as well. But I think they really excelled with this one in the English dub, where I think a lot of them have failed. The voice acting, they found voices that fit the characters properly. There's so many out there with English dubs where the voices just do not fit the character at all. In their physical appearance, their demeanor, just the character's behavior, personality, it tends to ruin it for me a lot of the time.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So like with that, that goes away. Like the more you watch anime, like the less that like focusing on the subtitles and watching the actual scene, that those kind of like merge together and you don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, I would recommend just watching more, and that eventually goes away.
Small screens. I started watching anime on a small TV, and then eventually watched a bunch on my phone, and that helped because it was all within one single eyesight. Today I can watch it on a big TV, no problem. I built a movie theater in the other room because I found a really cheap projector. I watch anime in there all the time, and I can handle the subtitles. But, when I first got started, because most shows, like the sub is good and the English dub sucks. It's really hard to
30
find.
minutes.
I can think of like a handful. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners, where the English dub is as good, or maybe even better in some scenarios than the sub version. So, well, hey, I feel like we've really touched a lot on the non-spoiler side of it. You guys want to each give a quick wrap up? For me, it's amazing. If you're thinking about going to watch it, just do it. If you're not thinking about watching it, do it anyways. You don't like anime? Don't care. Watch it. Don't watch it around your kids or people you won't be nervous, because it is very sexual and we didn't even talk about the gore. We'll get into that in the next part. But it is graphic and gory. But I have been watching anime for a long time. It's still really early. I have a top 10 list. Maybe I'll share it on Twitter sometime. This has slid into number 2. And I've got it under pending for me, right?
Dude, it's so good.
I've got it under pending, right? I have a timer on my phone because I'm very picky. I'll put them on there, and if in 6 months, if I feel like it still deserves to be there, I'll put it there. I don't see this one changing. I already put it at number 2, right? The only one that put ahead of it was Future Diary, and that's just a personal love. I objectively think this is a better anime than Future Diary, so go watch it.
I will say, after we watched all that and I got in bed and I laid down, it literally altered me. Dude, it altered me. I joined the Edgerunners Reddit. I was like looking for merch. I was like going into the lore of it and just like looking at all this stuff because it literally did such a good job at capturing my attention and just like getting me so involved with like the music, the characters, the love stories, just like everything. So like even after we were done watching it, it had even to the next day, like when I woke up, I immediately started playing that song, I Really Want to Stay at Your House, and just thinking about the show and stuff. So it's incredible.
Dude, next day, I'm still thinking about that shit. Like, we're a week after this movie. I still can't stop thinking about it.
I have literally been every single day recommending it to all of my coworkers. And prefacing with it when I say that to them that I do not watch anime. And I considered myself as hating anime before this. Also, I want to say that you should, even if you don't think you'll like it, even if you don't like anime, you should at least watch it for the soundtrack. I mean, that was such a standout that I don't think many shows or movies can match it. And also to what Ryan said about not watching with your kids because of the gore and sexualization, I do want to say I think they actually did a great job with the sexuality in the game, or not in the game, but in the show, because they didn't sexualize it just to sexualize it. They were very tasteful with it, and it worked within the storyline.
Yeah, it wasn't just like random lewdness for no reason. It was either like for character development or like relationships between people or like cyber aesthetic, like the aesthetic of the show. It would really fit into that. Because I mean, if people don't know what like cyberpunk aesthetic is, it's like kind of like futuristic, but like not. It's like dirty, gross New York, Neo Tokyo, like, but super futuristic, and it's very interesting. There's a very weird and like different like art style to it, and like between the clothing. So like in cyberpunk-esque stuff, like people are basically human cyborg kind of creations. They go to these Ripper doctors who like upgrade their bodies and stuff, and like they can put like guns into their wrists and stuff and just rockets out of their backs and just crazy stuff. So it was really cool. It has a really cool art style to it.
All right, well, this is an official warning. I don't have an animation for it if you're watching the stream, because if you guys didn't know this, we live stream every podcast now. So if you are listening to this audio and you're like, hey, I want to hang out, come talk to us in chat and be part of the show. So yeah, this is an official warning that we are getting into spoiler territory.
Everyone dies.
Yeah, 5, 4.
Everyone dies
3,
at the end.
2, 1. Fuck this show. Rebecca was the best character. She died in such a bullshit way. It was so fucking cool, and I'm mad about it.
It was so fucking cool. I will say, dude, yeah, the way she went out.
A fucking moment. Like,
dude, that was such a perfect death for Rebecca. Though.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, so Rebecca in the show, she is the brother of one of the punks in the crew. Sister, sorry, yeah. Her brother's in the crew as well. Yeah, she's the sister of one of the punks in the crew. And dude, she is like super feisty. She's always like cursing and just very like guns out, blazing, just fucking shredding through people all the time. And if you have played the game, there's a character in there called Adam Smasher, and he's just like a fucking brute, dude. He is like a tank of a cyberpunk. Like he's just almost full cyborg, just military weaponized mech. And she is with David, the lead character, and she starts fucking screaming, and she's like, we're having a fucking moment, and Adam Smasher just falls from the sky and just completely obliterates her. It's so fucking great.
Well, throws her like 300 feet through the ground.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's just like this really like deep moment, like, you know, my dream is for you to live your dream. Like, we're wrapping things up, such a deep, like, heavy moment, and you hear this loud bang, and like you expect him to like hunker down, and she just walks out into the middle, like she was like knowing she was gonna die, like had to, but she just having a fucking moment, points her shotgun up in the air just in time to get smashed. But seeing her, and the reason I'm mad was because she was my favorite character, but seeing her meet her demise in the most Rebecca way possible is just so fucking good. Like, across the board. And we talked about a bunch of stuff, and I hope we don't... I try not to iterate as much as we can that we already talked about in the non-spoiler version. But one of the things I didn't get to say in the non-spoiler, because we talked about the soundtrack, we talked about the gore, there are so many moments in this show where the gunfire or the violence and stuff is, like, queued up to the soundtrack. Like, the guns... while the music is playing. It's my favorite thing they do in trailers, and it is the fucking best in these shows. Like, I got goosebumps. I'm hype as fuck. Like, I'm in my seat here just going, like, get him! Like, yeah! Like, as we're watching the show. And... God, it's so fucking good. And Rebecca, I think the reason she was one of my favorite characters is she is, like, the most prominent, I think, person when it comes to, like, music and stuff, because she's always shooting all the fucking time.
Dude, what do we even want to dive into now that we're in the spoiler side? Like, there is so much shit to unpack in this show. Like, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I guess the first thing, like, in the first couple of episodes, I never expected that scene where David wakes up and Maine is there, and he's like, give me my fucking Sandevistan. Like, I never would have thought that, like, Lucy was gonna, like, turn him in and go against him in that episode. I was like, whoa, like, major plot twist.
Dude, I thought they were gonna be the villains. Like, that happens, and I was like, oh, this is, like, the main villains of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are scary looking, they're fucking mean, he's gonna escape, they're gonna hunt him down, like... This is the story, right? Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Edgerunners are the criminals. They're the villains of the story. Nah, they're the good guys. No, they're fucking criminals and evil. And they fucking smoke innocent people. Like that moment when David, like, fucking blows that lady's brains out, who was, like...
Okay, but that's not... Yeah, I mean, that was because of the cyber psychosis. Like, he was losing his fucking mind.
You see, but they kill a fuckload of people, and they don't give a shit about it in, like, other episodes. It's so good, dude.
Dude, the scene where Maine finally loses it. So if no one knows what cyberpsychosis is, it's kind of a thing that's like accustomed to Cyberpunk, to basically where they have these immunoblockers that you have to keep injecting yourself with, because the more you chrome yourself out, the more your brain kind of gets lost between, like, human and cyber psychosis, and eventually you just can't fucking you can't take it anymore, and you just snap. And when you're a weaponized cyborg with fucking machine guns for arms, you lose it and just start murdering people. And there was a scene where Maine, one of the main characters, finally snaps and he just can't handle it anymore.
40 minutes.
And he just starts murdering everyone in his path, just destroying them. And then there was that scene where he's covered in blood and he looked crazy and he was like, is this my fault? And then just starts fucking going in, dude. That shit was nuts. I was like, oh my God, this man has snapped.
Dude, near the end of his little rampage there, one thing that they didn't show very often, though, was that someone can be pulled out of cyberpsychosis through emotions. Because Dorio got killed. Fucking took a bullet to the brain, and then he had this, like, moment of realization, and he started going on more of a rampage, but it wasn't due to the cyberpsychosis. He snapped out of it,
and she died.
I missed it.
Okay.
Well, shit. Never mind. Anyways,
that's kind of
everything I just said.
Happens because it happens with
David,
like, right after that, right? Because, like, he starts to lose his shit. David comes, and it shows, like, he's still in cyberpsychosis. Like, he's in the wasteland. He doesn't actually see what's going on. He just sees a wasteland and blips, and he just happens to know this one blip is David. It seems like when someone goes into cyberpsychosis, they don't actually just lose their mind and go fucking mad and kill everything. They just see everything as a threat, whether it is or not. And the Maine just happened to, like, not attack this threat because he realized it was David, even though he was kind of losing his shit. But one of the biggest things was when Maine kills himself, when he blows the place up.
He killed himself, yeah.
Yeah, blows the place up because he couldn't recover from his cyberpsychosis. You expect him to see the explosion, right? In every show, you see the explosion, you see the flames engulf that person, and that's the end of it. They did not do that. The explosion happens, you see the flames come, and then you see his skin get fucking ripped from his body. You see the chrome and the meat and stuff start flying. Like, it wasn't like, hey, go in grace. It's like, he's accepted this. It fucking sucks. Like, and that once again, another really small detail where they're like, hey, here's a good guy. He's dying of his own volition. Let's have him explode into a million fucking pieces, and let's show every bit of the graphic disgustingness that is his death.
Yeah, another point to go off of what Jacob was saying with like the emotions. There's like that scene at the end of the show when David has the cyber skeleton on, and he's finally kind of hitting that psychosis point, and like Lucy like jumps on him and is like, David, it's me, and is like holding his head and like kisses him, and he like kind of comes back to it. So it definitely does play on the emotions, but I don't even know where to dive in after this. Like I said, there's so much shit, and just like for me, my favorite thing with the show was kind of the development between Lucy and David and like their love story, and like how he became this kind of kid that was kind of an outcast and a loser, and he kind of worked his way up. He like dropped out of school and kind of went and got chromed up with that Sandevistan, which is a military tech. So like he's not supposed to have that. You know, he got very lucky with getting it, and it really pushed him over the edge and made him way more powerful than, you know, the other cyberpunks out there. But from him to like go to that, and he kind of gave me Naruto vibes. Like he's like, I'm going to be the best. Like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And he like worked his way up and became like rich and like had this nice house with Lucy and stuff. And yeah, I don't even know. It was amazing.
In other words, he beat all of the other gym leaders and earned every single badge.
Pretty much, yeah, on his way. And just like that fight scene at the end between him and Atom Smasher, dude, it was just nuts. Cause like Atom Smasher also has a Sandevistan, and they were like both moving at the speed of sound, just fighting each other and shit. And dude, he looked so crazy when he had that cyber skeleton thing on, dude. He was literally a mech. Like, it was nuts.
Dude, I think my favorite part about that final fight scene though with them is the fact they didn't follow the tropes that so many other people would follow. With, you know, oh, everyone gets a happily ever after. It's a close fight, but he defeats the bad guy. No, he got his ass fucking handed to him for one. Like it wasn't even close. I mean, he just got fucking demolished. Atom Smasher destroyed him like it was nothing. But the fact that they actually let the main character die, have an ending, and he gave his life to help Lucy get free and get the fuck out of there and finally go to the moon, as she's always wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think something too that's like really really big in anime too, and you look at examples, Fairy Tail, Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball, all of them, right? Their characters level up, but they don't actually, right? Like, if I remember watching Fairy Tail, and I don't really feel like Natsu is like so much stronger by the end compared to what he was at the beginning, right? Like, he gets like this ultimate power, and then they never use it, right? How many times have you guys seen that in a show? And in this show, like, no, there's like, he gets stronger. He goes from like, I can't kill anyone, to like being able to kill someone, but it being hard, to it being kind of like another Tuesday, to him being the leader of the group after Main dies, and, you know, eventually becoming just stronger and stronger. But something else that, you know, you expect, oh, he's going Super Saiyan, right? He's going to be the strongest there is. No, like, at the end of the show, even if he doesn't get into that suit, he's dead. Like, he's going into cyber psychosis regardless of whether he gets into the steel suit or not. And he kind of can't stop himself from chroming up too much, to a point, like, at the end, he's like 90% chrome. Like, he's
yeah, even Lucy like asks him to stop, but like he knows like he can't, because he has to do what he has to do to, like, you know, complete his dreams and stuff like that. So he had to like literally sacrifice himself to get that done. But yeah, that fight scene between, like, literally he has like this crazy mech suit that Arasaka has like secretly designed. And Atom Smasher just comes up and rips his fucking arms off and puts a bullet through his brain like it was nothing. Like it's crazy.
I think that, and this might be a bit of a hot take, but if they wanted to keep going with the story, I feel like they could. I don't want them to, like, and I'm torn.
I've gone back and forth with it, like, because I was wondering, like, what if now, like, years pass from that, and like Lucy sees something, and is like, okay, well, I got my dream, but like, what was David's dream? And like, she gets back into it and finds new like crew members and stuff, and like goes back and like, you know, because after it was done and they had that Julio guy in there, I thought they were gonna kind of switch up like their motives here, and instead of being the bad guys and doing these heists and like robbing people and stuff, I thought they were gonna kind of be like the White Knights and like start using their gifts and stuff for like good.
They're criminals through and through.
Yeah, no, they were 100% criminals. So
I mean, he's just blowing the brains out of random scientists in a fucking lab.
Yeah, so I want them to do more with it, but at the same time I don't, because they did give us a resolution. We know how the story ends. We know what happens to them, and like literally, like the only people that are alive are Lucy and was it Falco?
Falco. And
yeah,
I've got a pitch. I want to know what you guys think. So I think they could do another episode show, and I want them to. But Lucy, not even a part of it. I don't want Lucy in there. I don't want it. You can have her show up, like being like a wise background character, but I want to see them take this show, and I want to have them take Falco, because I thought he was a cool character for the small bit he was in, and move him into like the main role, not main as in like the lead role, but like the character main. And bring him into that role as, like, I've seen some shit. I've been a part of it. I was part of David's crew, right? Like, we all died. Like, he passes that knowledge on. I'm thinking, like, new character, new story, new build, and have the one character, Falco, who was, like, so small, but a really cool character that I feel like could be fleshed out more, and bring him over into it. Because Cyberpunk universe is so big and so vast that you can do a whole new story, a whole new concept, and not have to rely on the same season after season. Because if they bring back Lucy, you're going to see nothing but disappointment, because you're trying to best the first season. Where if you bring back Falco, don't even call it Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Call it Cyberpunk something else, and let him be part of it. It's not a sequel. It's its own show.
Like 50 minutes.
Because I don't want a sequel. A sequel at this point would do nothing but negate the high quality of the first one, and I don't want them to do that.
But it makes me so sad. I don't want it to be over. I loved it so much. What was everyone's like favorite part of the show?
Dude, I think my favorite part was I forgot his name, but Rebecca's brother with the gold hands. His death. Yeah. And it's for one very specific line in there, but actually it's kind of twofold. The first being that's when you see David finally accept the fact that he can kill someone like it's nothing. And he does so to save Lucy's life. At least in his mind, he needed to save her life, even though she was like completely away, like in enough cover that, you know, he didn't have to do it exactly the way he did, not as fast. But the main reason I really love that scene is because after the hobo going through cyberpsychosis kills Rebecca's brother, Rebecca is pissed off because she's not the one that got to kill her brother.
And that's
I forgot she got pissed.
Show,
that's
right?
funny.
That's like a huge turning point for the show, because that's the first main character to die. That's when I realized, oh shit, these guys aren't safe. Because the first bit's like building up the crew, you see him running stuff, and I'm like, oh, you know, they're the unkillables, right? Every show had them. Glenn, for a long time in Walking Dead, was unkillable. Rick from The Walking Dead 2 was so unkillable that his death wasn't actually a death. He just, you know, they leave it like up in the air for the entire thing, even though you know the actor's not coming back. So you kind of see him that way, and all of a sudden Chumba gets his fucking head blown off, and for me I was like, oh shit. And it's my favorite thing in shows. They're gonna kill main characters, like, because it makes me feel something. We talked earlier about like I couldn't sleep. It wasn't because like I was so in love with everything. It's because I was so fucking sad that all of these characters that I fell in love with over a fucking, you know, I guess it'd be 5 hour stretch, 10 episodes, about 25 minutes each, 5 hour stretch. All of them but Lucy and Falco fucking die, and it's not even like a little, like, oh, they dead, etc. Hands gets his fucking head blown off, and the camera sits on his head.
Hands. His name's Pillar, by the way.
And it sits on it. Dario, Rebecca, when she gets fucking smashed, the camera cuts to her fucking head being split in half like 3 separate times. These times these characters die, it doesn't just show you they die. It shows you they die in a very graphic way, and then it reminds you how graphic their death was, and it just makes all of the impact so much fucking worse when I'm watching.
Yeah, it made it seem like you build these connections with these characters, and like there's a bunch of different like gangs and crews and stuff like that in Night City, and it just makes it seem like they're just another group out there, you know what I mean? Like they're not untouchable. Like there's other people out there that can put them on their ass, and it shows in the show. Like they're just another group, they're not anything crazy, but yet they're still building and doing all these crazy heists and stuff, and it's just, I don't know. But yeah, they did a really good way of like killing everyone off, because like literally out of all of the characters, only the 2 main characters survive out of all of them, and it's Lucy and Falco. Like even the villains die, like Faraday gets fucking killed, all of them.
In a super fucked up way too.
Yeah, dude, David was pissed, bro.
Jesus. Well, and then I think too, and a great example of this is the first scene where David is running the crew on his own, and you get the new guy that jumps in, and
Julian.
Yeah.
Or Julio?
Yeah, I think it was
the one that gets blown up by the trip laser.
Julio.
Yeah.
I felt bad when he died. He was there for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So you're just like, oh, he's like a new guy. He's all excited. He's all prepped. And then they get through everything and things have gone great, right? And then he fucking just blows up right before it. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, fuck. That's
they kind of... When they first introduced him, it kind of reminded me of like David when he first joined the crew, and like David's like the new main at that point, and he's like, "Listen, kid, like you're a noob. You're still don't try to talk all tough and shit like that." And like Rebecca starts kicking the shit out of him in the car.
When we talked about favorite scenes, mine is, God, there's so many that are so good. But
all of my favorite scenes are the ones that Lucy was naked in.
My favorite scene is it's hard because my favorite scene is within seconds of my least favorite scene. My favorite scene, and it's kind of spread out throughout the last episode or two, is all the scenes with Rebecca and David, where like she knows he's gonna die, and she's heartbroken about it because she cares about him so much. For reference, she's the friend I talked about that goes from like casual to like kind of a love interest to out, and that respect between them, and it really tugs on my heartstrings every time. Like they animate her face so well for like grief, and when she's injecting him each time, you can see that it's weighing on her more and more.
Yeah, she knows like every time she does it, it's getting closer and closer to him dying, and she knows that she can't stop him. Like it's too late. Like no matter what she does, he's going to slingshot and fucking die.
I think, and my favorite scene out of them all is at the end. David's telling Lucy that he wants her to live her dream, right? He doesn't have a dream. His goal is that she gets to live hers. And it even cuts to Falco and Rebecca, and Falco is like looks like he's part of the moment, right? But Rebecca looks distraught, but also like heart, like she looks like she's like really happy. But you can see like they animate such a level of like heartbreak on there, right? Like she's happy they got to this point and David did it, but she knows what's coming. And so that's
terrible content creator. Terrible.
My
Come
bad.
on, man.
And
You gotta
it gets
silence
to-
the phone.
it
That's
gets to the
crazy.
point-
All right, he's out of here.
I know.
I'm the new host. It's just me and Jacob.
And it's immediately followed up by the point where like she's like, "We're having a fucking moment." I think the reason she does that is because
Good round, too.
she knows it's.
And
she
the
knows it's
vibrations.
All right, you guys talk. My wife's calling me. Hold on.
He's in trouble, dude. I don't know what my favorite scene was. There's so many of them. I can't even pinpoint one, honestly. I don't know. I just really liked all of the scenes between Lucy and David. Those characters, for me, like their bond and the way that they interacted with each other were so good. Like I was obsessed with their story and how they developed. But I also really like the scene where Maine is slipping into psychosis and he kind of goes into that wasteland of just nothingness. And you just kind of see him slip back and forth into it. And like, because even in a point where he's in this psychosis, like David walks in the room, like Ryan was saying, and he's like, I don't care what happens. Like these people can come and try to kill us. They can come and try to stop us. I'm gonna die with you. Like, whatever it takes. And like, as soon as he walks in the room, Maine's like, oh, hey kid, how's it going? What's going on? You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't even realize what's happening. And it's just, that was probably one of my favorite scenes too, because they make it really, really good to see like how these characters are losing themselves in all this cybernetic stuff. Like they have this human side of them with like feelings and emotions, but it's being overtaken by all the tech that's in them. And I don't know, there were so many scenes. I really like the scene where Lucy like busts David out of the back of the ambulance and shit. And like, I don't know, there were so many good scenes. I just can't. My favorite part of the show was from start to end. Like, there's nothing wrong with this show.
That's a solid point. And also, did you guys did you notice that Rebecca seemed very much based on Harley Quinn as well?
Yeah, she gave me, if you've never seen Arcane, she gave me very Jinx vibes. But yeah, she's kind of the Harley Quinn, like guns blazing, crazy, like wants to have fun. So that's kind of how Jinx is in Arcane too. So yeah, she was definitely a good character. I liked her a lot too.
I'd love to watch Arcane as a group. I know Nick and we've both seen it multiple times.
I'll rewatch it.
Fifth playthrough, fifth watch. But I know Jacob hasn't. We should sit and watch it together. Do like another watch party if you're listening. Participate, and then like do an episode on it, because this one was originally going to be an episode of like movies versus TV shows. Because if you watch like Arcane movies, you watch Arcane the show, The Witcher, stuff like that, they're great. And then you watch like a bunch of video game movies and they can't seem to get them right, and kind of talking about like the difference and stuff between them. We're just gonna ignore the Resident Evil TV show because it's fucking awful. But I'd love to sit and like have a conversation about that sometime too, or have a watch party for it, because Netflix is just crushing it with these video game like show adaptions. Dear God, please keep it up. The best shows you've done. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it. It's better than Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things fucking pales in
what, Edgerunners?
Yeah.
Like, dude, yeah, Edgerunners. I mean, I feel like Stranger Things
better than Stranger Things. Like, keep the video game TV shows running. Resident Evil was a dud. Fuck it. Move past it. Like, I believe in you guys. Keep the train running.
I think Stranger Things kind of like appeals to a larger audience than this, though. Like, I feel like you have to have a little bit more specific taste to kind of get into this and actually appreciate it.
Well, and I think...
Can we take a second to talk about Adam Smasher's voice, though?
It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that dude is terrifying. Like, if I saw him on the street, I would run. I would move to a new city.
He'll find you.
He
Is it
would.
because he's
the
mostly
Chuck
black?
Norris of Cyberpunk universe.
Wow, Jacob. Holy shit.
Way to be
Okay.
fucking racist, Nick.
Oh my god, I'm gonna get canceled again.
Jacob, what and Nick and I've been rambling on and on about it. But like as a, and I keep going back to you as like, I haven't done anime before, kind of guy. Like, was there a moment where you're like, okay, anime can do it right? Or was it like a series of moments? Like, what for you really kind of pushed it over the top?
Yeah, so there was actually a really specific scene. It happened in a pineapple under the sea. Hey, SpongeBob's an anime. Fuck you. No,
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
is Corey in the house.
Best anime
Hey,
ever,
hey,
dude.
that was a great fucking show, man. But I don't know. I don't think there was a specific scene. I just think that overall it kind of changed my mind, and it had to do with the way they told the story. I feel like the story was really well written, presented in a fashion that I really appreciated, with everyone fucking dying at the end. Because one of my absolute favorite things to do to people is, if I watch something before them, I will intentionally go and tell them, spoiler alert, everyone dies, even though that literally never happens, and they finally did it. So that it's a very small thing, but that's something that made me really appreciate this. And I like the fact that they really did a great job of making you think, oh, these people are going to be special, to prove the point that nobody is special.
Yeah. I also like how many like different types of characters there are. So like Main is kind of like a tank. Like he's just a big bulked up dude with a bunch of guns and stuff. And then like Lucy is kind of like she's like, so they have like these things called net runners where they kind of like deep tap into like a deeper conscious and like can go into all these like different like cyber like spaces and like hack into stuff, and like there's just a bunch of different cool characters and like concepts. And I don't know, the show overall, like when I finished Arcane, I was like, oh my god, this is next level. But I think Studio Trigger bodied this, dude. Like it is fantastic from start to end. And I think it's actually topped Arcane for me.
So it hasn't for me. Arcane's still my favorite TV show of all time. But this, and I talked about it a bit, but like, what shocks me so much is I saw Studio Trigger was on this, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be awesome until the last 3 episodes. Like, because that's all of their stuff. It's all fucking awesome. And fair warning, I'm going to spoil some Darling and the Franxx, and I'm going to spoil their Star Wars episode. The Darling and the Franxx goes from these, like, this girl named Zero runs a mech, and every partner that gets in there can't handle the power and dies. And you get this scrawny little kid who always wanted to be a pilot, who never was able to, gets in with her, and he just, like, takes a fucking beating. Right?
Wait, isn't that the plot of Halo?
Kind of. No? I mean, they're different. I'm probably explaining it poorly, but at the end, you expect them to, like, shocker, it's aliens, which is another thing where they're like, a lot of their shows are like, oh, here's the main villain. Surprise! That main villain, not actually the villain. It's aliens! And they've done that like 4 times. And that's what Darwin's of the Franxx. I'm like, okay, that sucks, but move past that, right? Ignore that part of it. At the end, a regular girl just randomly turns into a giant, like, planet-size, half human, half mech thing. And she's just, like, in fucking space, just, like, talking to her team as this giant mech human hybrid thing. And it's out of fucking nowhere. It's so stupid. The Star Wars episode is about a pair of, like, Sith twins that get, like, created synthetically, and one of them wants to leave the dark side, and they end up in a fight.
Wait, and Studio Trigger did that?
Yeah. Did you?
Are you talking about the Star Wars? God, Visions. What was the name?
It's the
Visions.
anime.
Yeah,
Visions.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah,
okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Different anime studio for each episode of Visions. They're
right.
all like different, and so they get the one.
It's kind of like Love, Sex, Robots, but Star Wars.
And they get the episode that, like, she has like the lightsaber whip kind of deal. That's them. I thought that was maybe the weakest of all of those Star Wars episodes because one, they're outside on top of a ship in space without helmets or anything, just fucking breathing just fine. That's weird. Two, it has like you could do so many cool things. There's no like build up between the two. It's just like, hey, they're both evil. He doesn't want to be anymore. Start. And then it's just one giant fight. And I know they're known for action, but it felt so weak compared to all the others. So I saw this and I was like, I'm gonna love it, but it's gonna get convoluted. It's gonna get stupid, and you're gonna have to make, shows and movies have what they call like the leap of logic, where you like, it doesn't make sense, but like you can make the mental leap in your head. Studio Trigger has a tendency to go so far past that leap of logic that it just takes you out of it. And I was like, that's what's going to happen. No. Fuck, they went, and I saw when they're like exoskeleton suit, I'm like, oh, here it comes. He's going to become so overpowered, he can like destroy the fucking city, like, because they're talking about it, like he could wipe out the city with this thing, and they're talking about all this power. I'm like, oh my god, they're going to make him so fucking P. And that's what they do with all their shit. And no, he just gets fucking dumpstered. Gets dicked on by Adam Smasher. And I was like, yes! But I was also like, no. Like it was such an emotional ride for me.
I don't know. I mean, I love the show, and I hope they do different things with it. And I like how you said, like, having a new crew and stuff, that would be cool. Because, like, even on Cyberpunk's YouTube, the outro song by that Polish singer, they created a video for it with Maine and, like, Dorio and some other people. But there's also a new girl in it called Sasha. And, like, in this music video, she's kind of like Lucy, where she, like, is like a net runner and a hacker and stuff. She goes into this like a pharmaceutical company, and basically the Maine has her go in there and like steal some like data and stuff from that pharmaceutical company, and she finds like these secret files about this medicine that they're giving people, and her mom actually died from that medicine, and there's like an actual thing in the file that says like, hey, this medicine is killing people, but we're not going to tell people about it, we're going to keep selling it. And she like takes that knowledge while she's in this building and like directly uploads it to the news, and like they start figuring out about it, so they send all these people in and like try to kill her, and she like throws a grenade and like blows up the glass and like falls out of the glass in like slow-mo and shit. And like, so there's a very vast world for this series, and I think they should keep playing on it.
I think they should really make a prequel and show how the original crew got together and all of their backstories.
Oh, I like that. Ryan's shaking his head no, but I think that would be good. It leads up to the point. Shit. Dude, it ends where Lucy gets Ryan, on the train. Muted. Oh yeah, he is muted. It ends where Lucy gets on the train and sees David.
Hour 10.
No. Okay, here's why that's a fucking horrible idea.
Name end of the episode, so Ryan can't give his opinion.
No. Name a prequel that was as good as the original.
Star
Wars.
No.
Yep, thank you.
What? You
Dude,
say
fuck
the
the
Star
OG
Wars prequels are better than the original. Fucking Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks is the best character to ever grace.
He's also the strongest Sith Lord ever created.
Yes, totally a Sith
Lord.
Darth
Jar Jar.
I stand by that. Totally a Sith Lord. But objectively, those movies are bad in comparison. Like they don't even pay. Like they're so much worse. And the reason prequels suck, almost 99% of the time, prequels suck, is because there's so much tension gone when you know how it's going to end. And you watch the show, right? Say they do this prequel. You're never worried about Maine. You're never worried about Dario. You're never worried about Lucy. Like you don't have that like sense of, oh, these guys could die, because you know they make it to the other.
That is true.
Season, and then you're
is true.
But you're like, okay, well they'll have new crew members, right? And those will be the people that you have to worry about. Okay, so they either die because you know they're gonna die, right? They're only in the show because they aren't in the next one, or you're like, oh, they survive, and then you're just sit there wondering like, oh, this was an important character. Why did they leave the crew? Why were they not part of the crew in there?
All right,
So
you know what?
you're either cannon fodder or they're characters that should have come up in the other show but never do. And
I got one for
that's
you.
why the prequel is a fucking horrible idea, because you lose all the tension that made this show so fucking good.
All right, Ryan, I got a pitch for you. A prequel that shows them and their separate crews previously to crewing together and the demise of their old crews.
Still think it's bad because the main characters are the members of our crew and they're never gone. Now, you want a new pitch, right? You want to do a prequel? There's one way you can do a prequel.
Oh, look, Ryan thinks he's special.
No.
No one's special
there's
in
one way you can do a
Cyberpunk,
prequel,
Ryan.
And you do Maine before he knows anybody in his crew. Like Maine's OG crew, right?
That's
you
literally
still
what I
lose
just
some of the
said.
tension because you know Maine's not going to die.
It really is.
But-
Jacob just said that.
No.
Like
I'm
word
not
for word.
talking about like all. You said like everybody in their original crews and them coming together. I don't
It's
want
same concept.
anybody else. You want to do just Maine? I still think
I
it's
just want more
lesser,
Lucy.
Wait.
still
What about
think it's
Dario,
lesser.
though?
But
Dario doesn't get as much attention in this. She might be a good one for a prequel crew.
yeah, that one wouldn't be bad. I still think you run into the main issue with you're not.
You know,
worried
it'd be
about that
cool?
one person. Because like
Pillar?
here we felt like David could die, right? Like they made that like abundantly clear, and that's one of the things that made especially the back end of the show so good. Dario's not going to die, or Maine's not going to die if they do those, and I think it's a big withdrawal from
Wait,
the rest of them.
Jacob, check this. What about a Rebecca spinoff?
I'm gonna say no,
I
just because
I love
fuck you,
Rebecca as
Ryan.
a character, dude. That's
What
so
Well,
about
they
like
already,
a,
they already made it.
what did they make?
Yeah, it's
Harley Quinn?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going for. I couldn't remember what the fucking shit was called though.
What about like Pillar and Rebecca as like kids when they grow up and they grow up in Night City?
Wait, are you saying Cyberpunk is actually Alabama?
What?
Pillar and
No.
Rebecca had kids?
I got it.
Why does your mind always
I
go to
got it.
incest?
Because
Adam
it's funny.
Smasher prequel.
Oh,
That'd
that
be
would be
kinda
cool.
lit,
A
right?
backstory on like how he becomes like the legendary
What
Adam
if he's
Smasher.
like a
That'd be
nice
lit.
guy, like a good guy who gets kind of fucking manipulated and torn apart? Like that'd be fucking cool.
What if he's because they kind of like use him as like a military like merc, you know what I mean? Like what if he's kind of like fuck, what is his name? Master Chief, whatever his real name is. I don't remember his actual name. John, yeah. So what if he's kind of like John and they see that like he's like special and like they just start like fucking with him, you know what I mean? And like turning him into a mech.
Dude, that
dig
one
it.
would be kind of neat, I could see
I don't
them
know,
doing
I just wanna listen to the
Faraday,
soundtrack.
like, having him there just because they want Giancarlo Esposito back in the show, right? So I can definitely see them doing prequel, but I don't want them to. I want them to like move forward. I don't like prequels. I have a personal thing with them, so I never feel like they're that good. So please continue the series. Project Red, CD Project Red, is not continuing stuff into Cyberpunk. They're focusing on the Witcher stuff, but to avoid, we could talk about this for another like 2 hours. So could you guys let's kind of touch final thoughts. I want to go last. Dibs.
I guess I'll go first. Dude, I don't know. This show, like just watch it. Like honestly, just give it 1 to 3 episodes and then you will be hooked. I promise you. This show had a really like special place in my heart to me. I don't know why, but I just got super attached to it. I really think it is like the story with the characters and the soundtrack that really, really dove me into it. And yeah, I there's no words I can say to like adequately explain the story and the show as a whole, other than just go watch it. You'll love it.
I'm pretty much everything that Nick just said, but also the fact that it ended with a literal fuck your life bing bong.
Wow, that was. I didn't even get a chance to like swap over to your camera for that one. I think when it comes,
Nick is just crying in a corner.
I completely forgot about that.
I,
Fuck your life, bing bong.
I think when it comes to the show, it was such an unexpected gem, and so I think that usually adds like a sense of worry. Like, do I go back and watch it? And the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Like, I didn't expect it to be so good, and then I watched it, and that movie's like really, really good. But on repeated watchings, it's not as good because I have a high expectation for it. But this show did such a good job building on it that I think if I go back and watch it again, I'm going to enjoy it just as much as I did the first time. I will say I can't go back and watch it. Like, if I can't go back and watch it tomorrow. Because, like, it hurt me. It hurt my heart that fucking much. Like, watching all these characters I love so much die, I need some recovery time before I can dive back into it. So, please go watch it. Show Netflix all the support, CD Projekt Red, all the fucking support you can, because I want more of this. It's that fucking good. All right. Well, hey, I think that kind of does it for the show. If you stuck through all the way to the end, please shoot us a message on like Twitter or Instagram, wherever you can find us, at GG Pro Network or at Git Good Pod. Yeah, fuck. I just want to go back and watch like Arcane.
I know, like I just want to watch Edgerunners again. Honestly, it's so good. I can't get over it. Like, I'm obsessed with it.
As soon as we get off this, I'm probably gonna go play Cyberpunk. I'm gonna restart
All right.
it too.
Can we roll the outro to Edgerunners as the outro music for the podcast?
We don't have the copyright.
Well,
we don't have permission.
Monetize it. Don't monetize
we're
it.
Not
just
monetized
put it
right now anyway.
Just put.
You can use 10 seconds of it and no more.
Okay, that's all we
Perfect.
need. Just 10 seconds.
We aren't gonna be. What's the name of the show? I'm gonna pull it up on my Spotify and the actual stream version of it. But
hey, anyways, boys, we don't have a guest this episode since Nick is now an official co-host. So what do you say we all cue the outro music?
Ooh, that's not bad. What's the name of that, Nick?
What's the name of what? What are you talking about?
It's I Really Want to Stay at Your House was the one you love so much, right?
Yeah, that's not the outro song to the series, but you can play that one because I love that song. That's my favorite song in the soundtrack.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Cue
the outro. Lick my nuts.
That was way fucking awesome. That is the most like perfect way for us to finish this.
That was so scuffed.
Oh my god, it's playing off my phone.
Terrible, I'm telling you. Worst content creator ever.
Yeah, so it's going to make it into the intro of the episode.
Just bloopers of Ryan's phone going off during the podcast.
I swear, I'm on mute now. God, that show was so fucking good, dude.
As the pre-music intro,
we have officially stopped recording.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'm telling you, I stopped recording.
Okay. After work tomorrow.